Hi, I'm Andrew from Oya Restaurant and Lounge in Washington, D.C. And today we're discussing tips from a sommelier. In this clip, I'll be discussing with you how to properly store wine. As you can see, right now I'm standing in the restaurant's wine storage room. That's why it's a little dark, it's a little chilly, and you can also in the background hear a faint beeping from our air conditioning unit indicating that it's just a little bit warmer than normal in here. But let's talk about some things that you can do at home on storing wine. Now, most wines that you have at home right now for everyday drinking are not necessarily going to benefit from any long-term storage. And that really goes for most wines that are on the market today. There's only a very select number of high-end wines that really would benefit from having a cold storage unit in your home, whether it be a small refrigerator or a room like this that we have here at the restaurant. Couple things to keep in mind that you can do at home that will impact the quality of the wine. First, you want to try to store all of your wine horizontally. That's why many of the wine racks that you can purchase in wine shops and stores happen to be situated so that you can place wine horizontally. Now, the reason that's important is mainly with wines that have real corks is that you always want to have wine in contact with the cork. You don't want the corks to dry out, because if the corks dry out, they can shrink and contract a little bit, and air can get in. Too much air can cause the wine to oxidize. That's why a lot of the wine racks that you find in the stores, whether they be those little wooden ones that you can plop on your counter, that's why they're designed to store wine horizontally. A note about those little wine racks: don't place them on top of your refrigerator. I go into a lot of people's homes and I see them on top of the refrigerator. That's a bad place to store wine because that area of the kitchen tends to be warm. You also don't want to have them too close to the stove because heat, it can be detrimental to your wine. It can cause cooked flavors and you basically ruined your wine. So don't store your wine anywhere that's warm, especially above the fridge or somewhere near the kitchen stove. Some other things to keep in mind: you also want to find a dark place, as light can be detrimental to your wine. And you also, this is the toughest one for people to do in their homes, especially those people that live in condominiums or apartments, is to try to find a place with a constant humidity level, which would be around 70% is the ideal. So if you have a basement or a cellar, that would be a great place to store wine so that the corks, again, humidity is important to keep the corks from shrinking. Because again, if they shrink, then you can have some oxidation. One other note about corks and shrinkage: do not store white wine in your refrigerator. And I'm talking your refrigerator where you store your food. Because the humidity levels tend to be lower in the refrigerators for food. And again, you have shrinkage of the corks and you can have a ruined bottle of wine. I mean, I've seen I remember putting a bottle in maybe for 2 weeks. I thought I was going to drink it in like the next hour, but I didn't, and it was ruined within 2 weeks. And I hadn't even opened it because the cork shrunk. It was the humidity level wasn't high enough, and the wine was ruined. Now, if you do have some bottles that, say, you have some Chateau Margaux at home that we have here, things that you've spent a good deal of money on that do definitely benefit from long-term aging, these are the kind of bottles that I would say you need to invest in a wine storage unit. And I mean, you can build a room like this where you can store, 1,000 bottles, and you can invest in, some rack shelving, an air conditioning unit that will keep the room at, say, 55 to 57 degrees. These also regulate humidity, except when we have the door opening a lot and it wants to beep at us. But it regulates humidity. I mean, it's the perfect environment. Now, if you don't have a home that's big enough to build one of these rooms, you can invest in a small wine refrigerator. They have special wine refrigerators that will regulate the temperature at the optimum temperature of, say, again, 55 to 57, and also regulates the humidity. And those can come, as small as I've seen them for like 15 bottles, all the way up to I've seen units that look like more of a standard refrigerator that holds, say, 300 bottles. So there you have it, how to store wine. Stay tuned, because in my next clip, we're going to be talking about how to think outside the glass of Chardonnay.